This is the new Porsche Cayenne Hybrid. So the plug-in hybrid, or e-hybrid as Porsche calls it, for the all-new Cayenne generation. And in our full review on Autogefuehl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars, we will explain everything about exterior, interior and the driving experience, both in the performance, because it will match the one of the Cayenne S, and of course also about the electric drive or the hybrid drive. It will be very interesting, I can tell you, the most interesting Cayenne review so far, in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So this new plug-in hybrid Cayenne also introduces new features for the whole Cayenne lineup. You'll now be able to get a head-up display, a new parking assistant for example, massage seats, seat cooling, so some features that were missing in the options list before. In the front you cannot really see if it's the hybrid or not. We will soon see it in the side profile and the rear. Interesting is that the new generation of the Cayenne is even more streamlined, looks even sportier. They managed that quite well. The headlight unit started with LED from standard equipment. You can at the moment also see the LED daytime running light, but also the main headlight unit is LED. Option a dynamic LED system, and the second option, matrix LED with high beam, that is including this dynamic LED function. And the pricing will be very interesting. 75,000 for example, a base Cayenne, taking German prices, and then 92 a Cayenne S, and 90, so a little bit less expensive, the hybrid. So it comes with some more standard package, so they want to do the same that we did with the Panamera, to make this Cayenne the price-wise most attractive one. 4 meters 92 or 16 foot 1 is the total length of this new Cayenne generation, and you can see here the e-hybrid has this special badge with the acid green background. There are also news about the rims. Usually they vary between 19 and 21 inch. Those ones are also the 21 inch, and newly available now with the hybrid, then also for the whole range, are 22 inch rims. But actually I would rather tell you to go for the 20 inch rims. They have some more comfort and also less chance of damaging them. For sure, this spider look here in the 21 inch looks pretty impressive. Quartz gray is the color for today, by the way. Just a round shape here. They do not use too much sharp edges right there. Also a round shape here in the rear that goes for this coupe kind of style. But I can tell you, there will be a Cayenne Coupe coming up as well. I'm not sure if that's a clever choice, because I think it already looks coupe enough. Or what do you think? And another styling element for the hybrid are those acid green brake calipers right there. Depending on the design package, here for example everything is painted in vehicle color, but you will also see soon with the white car I'll show you that here in the lower part it starts then with the black plastic, and also the lower fender is then black plastic, depending on what you prefer, rather this street look or the rather some crossover SUV-ish look. And to show you another color variation, here it is in white. Do you like it more in white? I always love white cars, as long as they are clean. With the gray, of course, you can, longer last also when the car is not that clean. And in the rear, the new generation is defined by this going through light element right there. Also again with this 4-dot lock for the daytime running light. Then the Cayenne logo has this acid green background, as well as the e-hybrid badge right there. Then in the lower part, the exhaust, because we still have a combustion engine in here, they have the outer tip a little bit bigger than it would actually be, but they have made it very well with the integration that it kind of dissolves into this outer tip, and so you could say that it's maybe not fake. Let's take a look what's powering this thing. And the interesting thing, the engine lineup in general is this one here, the 3-liter V6 base engine with 340 horsepower. Then there's the Cayenne S, the 2.9-liter V6 with 440 horsepower. Then there's this one coming out with total system power of 462 horsepower. Still here then the 3-liter V6, so the one from the base Cayenne. But the acceleration figure is approximately the same then with the Cayenne S, so around 5 seconds. Then above that would be the V8, the turbo, that one then with 550 horsepower. So really interesting that they have made this one here in a horsepower or power way, that it matches the one from the Cayenne S, but still is a little bit less in the price. And if you add some extras with the base Cayenne, you will probably also land up with this price then as well. So that one is the combustion engine, you can see, but there's actually way more. And we can see it right here in the cutaway model, because together with the electric drive there's a total system power output of 462 horsepower, and the acceleration to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour is then 5 seconds. So this one here then has a total system output or acceleration figure that comes quite close or is almost matching the one of the Cayenne S at a slightly lower price. And in this cutaway model here we see all the red and the orange elements. Those ones have all together with the whole system. The weight is then a little bit higher at 2.3 tons, so about 300 kilograms more overall. Will be interesting how that one plays out for the consumption. Of the 300 kilograms extra weight, there's 140 kilograms for this battery. This is the heart basically, now at 14 kilowatt hours. In the predecessor it was 10 kilowatt hours, so they increased the capacity. So overall the fully electric range will be about 35 kilometers, and the total electric speed maximum will be 135 until it switches then. You can charge it up here then with the cable. How long it charges, it really depends on just if you use the household plug then as a power source, a bigger power station or so on, it really then depends on. But I mean, it's not too big of a capacity, so it won't take too much time. Well, for charging you can also get one of those fancy Porsche wall boxes here. Design-wise pretty cool and fits to your vehicle. But of course you can also get cheaper ones that do not have this branding. But I have to say, a wall box for a plug-in hybrid is a little bit overdone. The normal household plug will also do just fine. This one I think will pay off when Porsche releases their all-electric model. Interior, that started with the key, pretty long and slim and very light. Then here at the door we have the option of a soft close. Magic. Of course, you know, you do not have to get it. Then inside of the doors everything is wrapped tightly like on the exterior. This one here with the piano black, which I do not prefer really, but you can also get other decor element options. In the lower part you also have some room for bigger bottles, that's good. Then you can see you have an easy entry, that the sill here at the lower part, together with the aluminum Cayenne entry badge, is really flat with the floor mat. That's really easy to get in the vehicle then. Then a typical Cayenne interior of this new generation. The steering wheel quite compact, with a lot of buttons still. So it's not that purist like in the sports car Porsche, like in the two-door versions, but I'll soon explain you what you can actually do with that. Then the seat There's the normal seat and a sports seat. So the sports seat has a little bit more support in the lower and the higher areas. With their normal models, I think we have to wait for the GTS for animal skin alternative. The GTS will later feature Alcantara, or you have to ask the Porsche exclusive program then for some alternatives. This one here also with the electric functions, the back part, lower part. Here even the front part of the seat, you can make it longer, especially for tall people. And this one here is the electric lumbar support. Let's get inside, and as I said, a very easy entry, and you have this upright SUV seating position, a command view, also very comfortable seating. So all of those big SUVs that are all the siblings are all built in Bratislava, Audi Q7, Volkswagen Touareg and the Porsche Cayenne, they offer you a really good long-term comfort because of those big seats, upright seating position, and you have a lot of support from the seats as well. And of course you can adjust them in any way, as I've shown you earlier. When you turn on the ignition, you also have this function that the seat or the steering wheel is moving to give you a better entry. However, sometimes I feel that the system is not working flawlessly. Here I can manually control the steering wheel. Manual in the way it is electric, but manual I mean that it's not done automatically. So because when I turn off the ignition, you see here the seat is going backward and the steering wheel is going upward, so I can get out easier. But then again, I would expect when I turn on the ignition, here steering moves back down, but the seat is not moving forward. So I would have expected the seat is also moving forward then again, but I have to do it myself or use one of the memory functions that I have set to my position. We have the panoramic roof inbuilt here, and it leaves me still some headroom with 1.86 or 6'1", so no problem for tall people whatsoever. And now I found a solution. Well, the seat comfort function does not work with just the ignition, but when you open and close the door. So when you close the door then turn on the ignition, you see the seat goes forward, steering wheel goes back, and when you shut down the ignition and then open the door again, also the seat moves back. So it is somewhat logical that usually you have it combined with the open door, so I think I'm okay with that. In the interior overview, the horizontal design is stressed, as you can see right here, also with this 12.3-inch widescreen cockpit. Then checkered structures here, real metal, also at the vents. On the left side, then we have two smaller digital screens. On the right side, we can, for example, see the GPS or also some driving data. On the left side, we see the speed. I can also change a little bit. In the middle part remains with the big RPM meter. Here the Sport Chrono package is standard equipment with the e-hybrid, and that means you get an analog clock either from standard equipment or, as we see right here, with the compass. That one is an option you can go for. You also can get this driving mode selector then, that comes standard with the e-hybrid, is also part of the Sport Chrono package. I will explain you the driving modes when we drive the car later on. And in the lower part here, we still have some buttons, for example, to change the temperature, and the hotkeys then for the infotainment system. In the lower part, you can switch the suspension, for example. Seat heating, seat cooling is now also available. So again, some more features this car is introducing. I will also soon show you some more details about the infotainment system and a new feature they have introduced right there. And we do not have that in this very vehicle here yet, but with the new e-hybrid, Porsche will also introduce the head-up display. Finally, it was missing with the Cayenne. Also the very first time for Porsche overall that a head-up display will be available, and then you have this box here in the front, and just over 2 meters will be the projection, so you feel it would be in the 2 meters of distance. Get information for speed, GPS information and so on. Infotainment system, you can see here, it's really responsive, works very fast, good CPU unit. The phone can be either connected with Bluetooth or then also with putting in the cable, then it's accessible right here, for example with the Apple CarPlay. Always go back then here to the Porsche system, and with the vehicle you can, for example, when you have the air suspension, change how high the car will be. For example, when it's going off-road, it goes up like this. Pretty interesting for sure. You can also control the climate right here, for example, where the climate vents are coming from. You have to do it right here just in the screen. That's not possible in the lower part. And if you put in the rear view camera, that is very interesting. because we have a great camera system with a good resolution. You can have this fake drone view from above. You can also change how the angle of the camera works in the rear, and also can check out the rims. And newly available, it's not shown right here, but I can tell you it will be available, that you also have this 3D view from the outside, like we've shown in the Audi A7 or in the Audi A8. Well, and about those controls in the lower middle console, you should have this microfiber tissue all the time. You could spend more time cleaning than with controlling, because as soon as you set the suspension, for example, or when you put the ESC off, well, then you leave fingerprints or dust, and you clean it all over again. Cup holders are adaptive and also fit bigger and smaller bottles, that's good. Then fixedly attached middle armrest. You can have 2 USB ports there, can put your phone there, but that's not an inductive charging platform. On special requests, here the sunshade with Alcantara cover, that's very nice. When you open it, you can check out yourself, and there's also a light that automatically goes on. Even more interesting is the passenger side or the co-driver side, because you also have a mirror here with light, and then you can put that one to the side and can fold the second one up there, then have this double sun cover. And a good view at the panoramic roof. So it is either possible to use this shade here. It takes some time, but it's quite big. It goes all over the vehicle, and there you have it. If you are living in a very, very hot climate, you should probably not go for it at all. But in this way, it's also black, also prevents heat from going in. And the second thing is you can really also open it like this. Here we go, to leave some fresh air inside. It's also very wide opening. This is the maximum opening position here, and that brings some kind of convertible feeling in here. And let's get in the rear, and wow, this is so easy. And wow, look at the legroom I have still left. That's superb. Also big step forward if you compare the predecessor generation. Now you have more legroom, and I just have to say that it is more comfortable than you would use, for example, a big sedan, or maybe think about the Panamera, where I rather sit like this in the rear, more with a sleeping position. Here I can also easily adjust the back part, want to sit more upright or want to lean more backward, and it's really great to sit here in the rear. Also headroom wise is no problem. However, here the panoramic roof limits it a little bit more. So if you're above 119 meters or above 6'2", then you should probably not go for the panoramic roof if you want those tall people in the rear. But of course, from here you can even enjoy the panoramic roof more, because then you can see all light and the sky. Maybe if you're driving through New York, maybe looking into skyscrapers and so on. So really superb to sit here in the rear. Well, there is a middle tunnel here, so to sit in the middle is not that good as an adult. Also the middle part is a little bit stiffer. Nowadays in the cars they usually do it in a way that they concentrate that as it would be 4-seaters, well, are you driving with 5 people in the car? Write me in the comment, would be really looking forward to it. About children, we got the ISOFIX anchor points on the outside seats, and then we have optional also the 4-zone AC to control it here in the rear, also with nice clicking sounds, and 2 USB ports. Last but not least, we can also have the armrest with 2 integrated cup holders right there, and we can already flip the seats from here like this, fix them tightly, and let's see how that one looks like from the trunk. So to open the trunk, you can either use the button, you can press on the key, or you can use this foot opening mechanism. Hey, that was live testing and it worked quite good. This is of course then an option as always. Then you have the top cover. It is railed left and right, but here it ends this rail, so this is a little bit wobbly, I think. You see, I've already flipped the seat. That's how you can load through. You can also have just the middle part as a ski hatch, that's also possible, but you cannot flip the seats from the trunk. This is one thing that is missing with the Cayenne. So if you think about the boot space in liters, the normal Cayenne has 770 liters. This one 645. That sounds like a big loss due to the battery in the rear. But here you can see, well, with the also Bose sound system part, and the battery is then placed below that. You can see something here, you know, the aluminum block right there. This one would be which was red in the cutaway model. So, but the thing is, liter-wise you lose a little bit, but then again, this top cover here is only 4 centimeters higher, so just like this. So usually it would go down like this, and in the way it is here with the hybrid, it goes through without a loading sill. And you can say, maybe this is even better, you know, handier. So overall, for the trunk, you know, practicability, you do not lose anything literally. So this is really okay. We have seen some hybrids where you lose a lot. For example, the C-Class plug-in hybrid, the new one, which is really catastrophic in the trunk. But this one here, actually fine. I mean, it's a bigger car, so you can also hide that better. So I would have no problem with the hybrid and here with the trunk space overall. When you have the air suspension, which is also equipped with this one here, you can also lower the trunk like this. Pretty cool feature, right? If those few centimeters help you, well, if you have really heavy things to carry, maybe this is quite handy then. So let's just flip the other seat for you around and you can see the maximum loading setup like this. Here we go. And then child safety test. Let's see. That one worked quite well. So that stopped as I would like it. And here we go also with a soft close touch. So let's start with the driving part, and sometimes you don't even know if the car is running or not. That's very interesting. And for example, when you're here in the parking lot, it's really good because no one will hear anything. This is also more socially acceptable then, and you know that the Cayenne sometimes had some problems with that some say, you know, big SUV, so big engine, big consumption and stuff, which is also you know, true in a way. But then if you here have the electric power, for example, you can use the camera system here as well and find your parking spot, good with the fake drone view from above, and you're not making any sound. That's a big advantage here with the eDrive. By the way, it also tells us the realistic calculation now with about 37 kilometers of pure electric range. And this is also pretty realistic then. So you can, for example, start in this e-power mode here, the driving selector, and just keep it with the electric drive and then run all those 37 kilometers down, or 35 to be, you know, giving you a round number, and then start with the combustion engine. But you could also use the hybrid drive, then you would go here in this H mode, and with the hybrid auto mode, it stays electric when I'm, for example, just rather rolling here very slowly, still pure electric, but then the car always decides on its own what is the most suitable motor engine combination here at that given time. I think I have to get up there. Yeah, and that's also again a good thing, together with the good camera system. When you're missing something out, also when you have the rear axle steering, which I have here, this reduces the turning circle. Really helpful system. I can just recommend it. It makes the car appear smaller, although it's still a big car, especially for turning in the city. And of course, it gives you some more agility while driving too. And now when I'm going a little bit more on the throttle, you can basically decide if you still want to remain in this electric drive mode or if you want to have the combustion engine activated as well. So let me go back to the e-power mode, and on the left screen then I say, you know, this is the hybrid assistant, and I see this, you know, this round meter going, and also feel in the throttle. So far just electric, 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 electric. And then the throttle gives me a feedback basically. So it gets harder and harder when you push the throttle. And then there's a certain point where it gets, you know, really hard. And then you have to push through there. And then you go to the combustion engine as well. And they do it because they first of all want to keep it for safety reasons, when you have a situation where you really have to accelerate harder for whatever reason. And they also do it for performance reasons, because they say they want to keep it that way. This is it's a performance vehicle, and so it should also deliver this power when you really pushing the throttle. This is their philosophy. Other plug-in hybrids are set up in a different way. For example, a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, there you can, in the electric mode, push all the way through with the throttle and you stay in this electric mode. You couldn't argue for and against it what is the better way, for sure. I really enjoy driving it all electric, because the Cayenne anyway, if you compare it to a 911 or a Boxster Cayman, it's not so much about the sound, it's more about this great upright driving experience. It's about having a very comfortable, long-term running Porsche. Of course, you still have that power, and as I said earlier, it's 5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, whereas just 4.9 for the Cayenne S. So you have the similar power than with the Cayenne S. And due to this electric boost, all the Newton meters of torque are directly there from that electric engine, electric motor, sorry. So that's really an interesting thing also from the performance aspect. You can also see the all-wheel drive distribution here on the right side. You can either have the GPS map there, or here predominantly you have the rear wheel torque. So when I'm just rolling at the moment, well, I would say 80% for the rear and 20, maybe 15% from the front, something like that. When you hammer the throttle even more, then it changes. More power gets to the front wheels, or also in slippery conditions. So here still again, just still driving all electric, and it's really silent and comfortable. It's a great ride. And if you, for example, commuting and then can charge at home or at work, then for a short commute you can drive this Cayenne really all electric. I think that's a really powerful thing. Of course, so far we don't use any fuel. And what I'm later looking forward to, and the reason is, I want to clear the electric drive basically, because I want to later experience as well what happens when there's no electric range left and we're just using the recuperation mode for this vehicle. That's really interesting for sure, because we've tested that with the Panamera as well. If you're just accelerating with the electric mode, by the way, this is the maximum now. I feel it in the throttle, still electric, and you don't get the super boost because it's not the biggest battery, and this is not an all-electric car, it's a plug-in hybrid. So from standstill here, it's okay acceleration-wise, but there's no performance acceleration with the plug-in hybrid. And that again is different than to other vehicles. As I said, we got the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, which cannot be compared price-wise and segment-wise here, but there it was, for example, possible when you push it through all the way with the throttle, you had a good acceleration even with the electric drive. That's not possible here. Here, the electric drive is really meant to either be a rolling electric drive when you're just cruising, but not for real power boost on its own. It is the supportive power boost. That's how they meant it to be. New assistance systems equipped here also, blind spot monitor they have in here, when that the side is then flashing from the side mirror. New parking assist is also introduced with the hybrid system here, and also the adaptive cruise control if you want to use that. There's still a separate column in the lower part. That one then is working also in a way that it reduces the speed, for example, in front of a roundabout, that you can save some more fuel right there. At the moment, I'm still not burning any fuel, still driving all electric. Let's see when I'm going to the hybrid mode now. As long as I stay gentle with the throttle and just rolling, and a lot of traffic nowadays is just rolling, not so much is happening, then it also will stay in the all electric mode. The hybrid mode could be useful, if you're just using for everyday driving. However, the standard mode will always start in the E mode, because that one is used then when you start the vehicle in your parking lot at home, that you don't annoy the neighbors. Here, by the way, what an agile response you've directly, especially when you're driving slower, because in the slow speeds, the rear axle steering goes just across in the opposite way, and when you're driving faster, for example, the motorway, both axles turn, or both wheels turn, or all four wheels turn in the same direction to give you some more stability. And thus, especially at the lower speeds, you really feel that the car is reacting faster, almost like a go-kart, although we have this 5-meter long full-size SUV. Well, full-size for a European. You can argue if this is a full-size in an American scale, for sure. Here also for stop and go, again perfect, or when you're stuck in traffic, there's no emissions coming out. Of course, the electricity has to be produced in some way, but locally you have no emissions then. And if you think about all vehicles in traffic jam would not have a running combustion engine, that would be really great. I mean, basically for everyone in the traffic jam, and of course for everyone outside the traffic jam as well. All roundabouts are really... Oh, I got it here. All roundabouts are really very fun to drive. And again, you really feel this rear axle steering very much, very much. So now when I can drive a little bit faster in the hybrid auto mode, I'm now at about 70 kilometers an hour, but just let me drop back just a little bit, I can show you some more, to 60 kilometers, and when I then hit the throttle all the way through, you will see that the combustion engine is being activated. 100. That went pretty quick, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there was a short transition from the just electric to then the activating combustion engine. So I got another boost right there in the back. So there is a transition you can feel, but only when you're all the way on the throttle. Usually when you're just a little bit more gently with the throttle, you do not feel the transition between the all electric and the combustion drive. So this guy wants to ride with Autogefuehl, obviously. Sorry, we need to continue with the review here. No pause for you. So, and as soon as I go, for example, off the throttle, combustion engine is shutting off and the car is sailing. So just in the electric mode, you see RPMs drop to 0, I can let roll. And this is also one of the main reasons why the car is also working in an efficient way, even if you have depleted the battery almost. It will never be completely depleted. On the right side, by the way, we're seeing now the salt hills of the French region of the Camargue. Pretty interesting region. Well, the battery goes down up to about 15%, so it's never really totally depleted, and also never fully charged. It's about 95%. And why are they doing that? To save the battery life. So if you're not totally fully charged and you're not empty it all the way, it's the best for the lithium-ion batteries. You can also remember that for your smartphones, best is to never charge them totally full and to never empty them totally. And of course it depends on, for example here, when the car shows me 100% it's full, the real is 95%. So it's a little bit fooling the customer to save the battery life. And it's the same, for example, that Tesla did as with the Hurricane, and they suddenly released more battery capacity. Well, why could they do that? Because usually the battery is not filled up totally, or not, you cannot use it also to the very last zero. So I think it's a good system. They should do that with all vehicles, and probably they should also do it with smartphones. I'm not sure how it is with the smartphones, if you can ruin your battery life by just doing it, or if they also limit it to 95 and maybe like 10% and then it shuts down. I'm not exactly sure, but considering the battery life of the so far iPhone batteries, I'm not sure if their strategy is that good for preserving that battery. We hope it will be better with the Porsche one. So also in the hybrid auto mode, you can ride very well. You also have a display in the instruments which shows you when the e-power is being accessed or when the car is charging, so recuperating again. And Porsche actually got a very good recuperation, a very efficient, wow, what a wall, very efficient recuperation system. And that is also helping you to save fuel and to gain back energy then for the battery. For example, also when you're driving down a hill, that is, gaining you a lot. And again, spectacular landscape. Always when you're here in Thomas's driving launch and the driving part review, always look out for the landscape. And you can see a lot here as well. Enjoy car driving and landscape at the very same time. Also got the camera here mounted at the panoramic roof today for you. It gives you a better view, but just the view then to me is a little bit weird because I got that camera right in your face, But I mean, you have to find a compromise at some point. So again, pretty cool driving here with the Cayenne, and I have driven every version that is on the market so far. The normal Cayenne 3-liter V6, which is also mounted in here without the hybrid. Then the Cayenne S with a 2.9-liter V6, but with more horsepower and equal acceleration. And then this one, and I would definitely go for the hybrid. And maybe that also explains why the Panamera in Europe is bought for 60% now with the hybrid version. So it's the most famous version now from the Panamera in Europe, the hybrid one. Probably will be the same with the Cayenne because price-wise it's attractive if you compare it to the Cayenne S. And it's just a pleasure to drive. Again, you have the performance always when you need it or when you want it. But at the same time, especially for the Cayenne, it fits so well because you have this calm ride. If you pick then the optional air suspension, you have this soft ride too. At the same time, it stays sporty in the corners, and we know that sportiness in electric drive is nothing which is the opposite. Often it comes along. Here again, there's no sporty acceleration, just all electric, but that's no problem because we still have the combustion engine here. But you see from the driving we did here so far, even if I stay in the hybrid auto mode, there's actually no need at all to use the combustion engine because I have no chance to really max floor it out. That would be different than when we have a German Autobahn and we can maybe drive a little bit faster. Here we go. Always when you use the brakes, recuperation is being activated first. And when there's even more braking power needed, then also the normal brakes are being applied. They have 3 different kinds of brakes meanwhile. Starts with normal disc brakes, then optional the one with the special coating. And that one is reducing the fine dust by 90% and is also better in the braking performance. I would recommend you to go for those if you want to spend some more extra money on the brakes. Also will keep your rims cleaner, longer. And then optional, the third step would be the carbon ceramic brakes, but they are better for, racetrack and stuff. And when you don't use them properly, don't use really hard braking maneuvers, they will start to squeak. I often collected some small cobblestones in there and that was pretty awkward. So my tip for you would be to go for those new coated brakes. Those are pretty awesome and it's a good idea to reduce fine dust even with the Porsche Cayenne. Plus, if you pick the hybrid, you can really say, hey, I'm doing so much against fine dust in the city, right? Got the coated brakes and got a hybrid. So what do you want? Pretty cool idea, isn't it? I think that's also a reason why Porsche is boosting this hybrid segment here, image-wise, for example, and also fleet CO2 consumption-wise. Because when you have those plug-in hybrids, the CO2 consumption on paper is even lower than it would be now when you're also using the combustion engine in a proper way. And that also saves them cost because they do not have to pay some compensation fees to Tesla, for example. That Tesla is earning a lot of money, not overall, but by selling those CO2 tickets to the other manufacturers, which Tesla is not needing at all. Pretty interesting. By the way, if you hear me clicking here at the lower part of the steering wheel, that is the heated steering wheel. And, well, you cannot really see it. You can just feel the button. So if you don't know where your heated steering wheel is in your new Cayenne, it is at the bottom of the steering wheel, and you get a small message if it's turned on and off. Today it's warm enough, so I don't need it, but in wintertime it is really my favorite feature. We're still in here electric mode, and I can say I wouldn't mind actually an all-electric Cayenne. Really have to say that. What about you? What do you think? Would you rather drive an all-electric Cayenne already? Or are you better off than with the plug-in hybrid? What do you think? So, hybrid auto mode. Now when I accelerate a little bit harder, I have some more room. Combustion engine turns on again. It's a quite decent sound. However, the sound insulation is of course well done. Good overview, by the way, for a big car. Not too big A-pillar. The B-pillar is a little bit thick, but then again you have the blind spot monitor. What an agile drive. So much fun. I think with the air suspension here, it's also a very good compromise between the sportiness in the drive and the comfort. So you basically have both. You know, if you compare an Audi Q7 or a Volkswagen Touareg, they are softer from suspension, give you some more running straight, long time driving comfort suspension wise. Also the sport seats here, the normal seats that are already sporty, a little bit more comfortable because they have a little bit more open space than those ones. Again, if you want to be held more tightly, those ones will help you. And of course here then with the feedback you still can have a lot of fun, still drive a sporty Porsche. So, using the shifting pedals, you can also change the gear of this combustion engine. Go back to third gear then. Wow, really great acceleration. See, we have some more room now. No one is behind us. We can also make it from 0 out now. Let's see, because we also have a sport mode. Either this sport mode, more almost equal distribution than front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or even the Sport Plus. Maybe hear the sound a little bit more and even more boost. Everyone get ready for an acceleration part here, and let's go. Also hammer the brakes, launch control. That was already 100. Wow, pretty cool. So yes, the Cayenne S was louder. It felt faster, but this one was definitely as fast as the Cayenne S. So you have less stress on this loud exhaust. However, it's the first time now they are also offering the performance exhaust for the Cayenne Hybrid. So if you want it, you can still get the sound, even though it's not the, you know, the primary stress for that one there in this case. Really cool, very fast. Here in the Sport Plus mode, by the way, or in the Sport mode, both drives are always active. The gears change a little bit here, Sport Plus. Fourth gear at 80 kilometers, turn up the RPMs. Sport mode, fifth gear at 80 kilometers before hitting the throttle, so it also changes in the gears. And hybrid mode, sixth gear then, dropping down the RPMs. And as soon as I go off the throttle, RPMs drop to 0, all electric. When I'm in the sport mode, by the way, and I go off the throttle, engine brake is there, the combustion engine stays on, the RPMs are still there. So those are the differences you can play around with. So you always have the power, even if you're just in the hybrid auto mode. As soon as you hit the throttle really hard, acceleration is there too. So you can also just stay in this hybrid auto mode, or also in the pure e-power mode. When you hit the throttle right there, you get the same result. So no matter in which mode you are, as soon as you floor out the throttle, all the power is being accessed. Then you also have this boost function with the small knob you press here, like in the 911 on the Boxster Sport Response. You have this overboost that gives you even more power. Yeah, that's something to play around with, just you don't really need it, but you have it. So yeah, about that. So we still have 90 kilometers of electric range all left. And the consumption, of course, will still remain quite low, even though we had this powerful launch control 0 to 100. Still about 5 liters of consumption on 100 kilometers. Of course, it's always now a mix, and you have to consider the fuel consumption and the electric consumption both. So you don't always, it's really hard to compare it then. But the more interesting thing is really that, for example, with the Cayenne and the Cayenne S, when we drove slowly and really wanted to have a rather low consumption, we could score 11 liters on 100 kilometers. And for example, with the Porsche Panamera Hybrid, when we depleted the electric drive and then just used recuperation and sailing, coasting functions, and then the energy that came from this one again for the electric drive, we had about 7 liters of total consumption. And what I'm doing here now, as soon as I've depleted the electric drive, I will then reset the consumption and see how it plays out then. Because I think this is very important. Not all plug-in, that was a little bit unfair from you now. Yeah. It's always dangerous to overtake those. Yeah. But that worked out pretty well still. So, I think it's very important when the electric drive is being depleted totally, that it still makes sense to do this plug-in hybrid system, because, as I said earlier, it adds weight to the car. And this is, of course, then the problem, because it brings up the consumption with more weight. So it has to be a very efficient plug-in hybrid drive. And with the Panamera, it already worked. And this then indeed can replace a diesel. However, they also said that Europe will still get a diesel, and you also see it when you open the fuel cap, that there is still already a gap left for the SCR cleaning. So that one will be put in there then for the diesel versions. However, this one, the hybrid, definitely a good alternative to the diesel. And when you already add some speed, the e-power acceleration is usually enough as soon, when you're not hammered completely. So definitely a very, very interesting drive, performance-wise, consumption-wise, and also electric-wise. For me, the most interesting version of the Cayenne, and as the price performance is also there, still also pretty interesting. So, and the thing I'll do off camera now is to deplete the electric drive completely, and then in the conclusion very soon, I will also tell you what we then ended up as the average consumption just with the empty battery and the recuperation wise and so on. I would think that we end up like with the Panamera, because they have a lot of common, both cars, and it's the same technology and stuff, so it should be almost the same, but I think we can prove that to you very soon. So now to our conclusion, and first of all about the consumption figures. We've shown you 35 kilometers of pure electric range. Then if you combine both, basically have enough electric range, use the combustion engine, you can end up about 5 liters. Maybe if you stay in the city and maybe even below that. That really depends on how you drive the car, how you use it, and how much electricity or the electric power is left. Then, if you deplete all of the electric range and just use basically the combustion engine with some of the recuperation it has, we then scored later about 8.5 liters on 100 kilometers. That's a little bit more than we used with the Panamera, but clearly the Panamera also stands better against wind than the higher Cayenne. And it's at least 2 liters or even more, maybe 3 liters difference to the normal V6 we have here when we do not have the hybrid. So yes, the hybrid pays off in the long-term run, especially if you compare it to the Cayenne S, because It's even a couple of €1,000 less expensive and actually delivers you more, comes with more standard equipment. So overall, if you ask me which Cayenne you should go for, I think I would pick the hybrid right here for the reasons we've mentioned. Exterior design, of course, very sporty still for SUV. It also is the sportiest SUV to drive. When you have the air suspension mounted, then you also can get this comfortable feeling at the same time. So you have this sporty comfort compromise. On the interior, now more room available in this new generation and everything well done, well executed. So, what do you think, guys? Leave me your feedback in the comments and, of course, also tune in to our base Cayenne video and to the Cayenne S review. Have fun with this one and also tune in to our next episode. Thank you so much.